Hey guys, how you all doing? Welcome back to the channel. Ofer again. Today we're gonna have a very cool shootout. We're going to compare a modern high gain tube head to vintage rag gear, and we're going to use the 5150 Iconic that has EL34 tubes, and we'll compare it to my Marshall JMP1 preamp going into the Marshall 9000 power amp that also uses EL34 tubes, and they both have two preamp tubes in the preamp section, so they're very comparable. They were just released about 35 years apart, and I'm very intrigued to see how and if they can even be compared to each other. I wrote a very cool song on this Barrington guitar. We're gonna start with the 5150 Iconic. Let's hear how it sounds, and then we'll talk all about it. Let's go! Alright, so that was the 5150 Iconic, a great budget, kind of budget friendly tube head, 80 watts of sheer power. It sounded very bassy, very creamy. I was playing on channel 2, no noise gate, the gain is fairly low, you can see the settings. I'll do a close-up right here. It's a great amp, we have a built-in boost, we can drop down the wattage to 20 watts I think. I've been using this head live a bunch and it served me very well. It comes with a foot switch that you can boost or switch between the channels, which is very nice. Now I want to address the elephant in the room. Can we actually compare modern gear to vintage gear that came out 35 years ago? Did they actually crack the code 35 years ago? Or did we make some major improvements over the years? Let's find out. We're gonna hear the Marshall JMP1 through the Marshall Power Amp right now. Let's go! Alright, so we heard both of these amazing amps and setups. To my ears, they both sound fantastic. The EVH does what it does very well. It sounds more modern. It has a shitload of gain, for the lack of better term. I find the Marshall JMP1 to have a lot of gain too, but I just tried to dial in a complementing tone for the song, you know? That's why we're using the gear, right? To serve us to make music. So let's start with the 5150. I want to say that it's a very bass loaded head. It has a lot of bottom end, and it's very cool. I think it's very useful for modern music. Is it the best sounding amp in the world? It sounds great to my ears. Is it better sounding than the JMP1? I feel like overall the JMP1 sounded more organic and set better in the mix. But let me say that the 5150 was actually easier to play on due to its abundance of gain and bottom end, so you feel less exposed than the setting I've used on the JMP1. I could have probably, used more gain on my settings, but I chose to keep it low, keep it nice, keep it tight, because I really wanted that Marshall crunch to come out and do the beautiful thing that Marshall does. Now, one other thing that the Marshall preamp just has that the 5150 doesn't is the MIDI programmability. You can program, I think, around 100 presets or 128 like the ADA MP1. I'm not sure, but you can program a lot of presets on the JMP1 and just have them loaded on the go, whether you're recording or playing live. They're just there for you, and it's very useful. The 5150, the knobs are very sensitive, and it's not as convenient going for the same sound unless you really mark where you've been, and still you can have the knob move on you, and it can be frustrating. So now, if you ask me what sounds better or what should you choose, the answer will differ. But I'll tell you that I played both of them to my girlfriend without telling her what is what. She's not a musician too, she's not a guitar player. And she was actually going through the blind test saying that the JMP1 sounded better to her without knowing anything about mixing or about guitar playing. She just said it sounded better to her, which I wasn't expecting, because again, I feel like the 5150 really had the more fluid sound that maybe to untrained ears can sound better, right? Because more is better. Or is it? I don't know. It's very interesting. Of course, tone is subjective, and of course you can buy the 5150 right now with a click of a button online. The JMP1 is old and you might have troubles finding one in a good shape for a decent price. And of course you need a power amp, which is a whole different subject and a whole other thing to have, right? And in this video I used this very nice Marshall tube power amp, and it would sound completely different maybe with a solid state power amp, which is another video I want to make comparing tube power amps to solid state ones. But in today's video I'm really interested to hear your thoughts. Do you guys like the 5150 better? Do you like the JMP1 better? My experience was just that the 5150 was easier to play, but the JMP1 at the end of the day sounded better and served the song a little better to my ears. But I'd love to hear your thought, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to see you in the next video. Have a good one. Oh, and please don't forget to subscribe if you like what I'm doing here. See you soon, guys. Bye bye.